Children, you're dismissed to Children's Church. And while the kids are walking off to Children's Church, I want to inform the church of something that is going on here in our community. All of us are very much aware of the devastation and things that have happened around the state, especially down in Moore, Oklahoma. We have an organization started here in town called Together We Can Do More, and More, of course, is spelled M-O-O-R-E, okay? You can go on Facebook, and you can find a Facebook page there that says Together We Can Do More, and you can see what is happening, what's going on. Different people are commenting on this page, but what this is we are working together as a group to try to get some things put together that we can send down to Moore, Oklahoma. And we are, all of our churches, most of all of our churches that's involved with the Ministerial Alliance is participating in this, as well as businesses here in town. Different organizations are in this. And what we're going to do is we're going to consolidate all of the stuff that we get put together. We're going to put it hopefully in one truck. And take it down one time, that is to kind of help cut down on the traffic and things, you know, of course, that gets to be kind of congested in those areas and things like that. So I want you to be aware of that. The list of the things that is needed, and we're asking that we stick to the list, okay, because so many times what happens, people start getting this, that, and the other, and there's a list on the doors, and when you go outside, there should be flyers on the doors here that says Together We Can Do More, and on that list is what we need to be able to put together so that we can put it on this truck and send it to Moore, Oklahoma. And we're asking that you stick to that list, okay? As you have things and you can pick up things, if you choose to participate in this, bring it by the church here. We will have a place to be able to put it. And then we're going to, Together We Can Do More, we'll come around and pick up all of these things so that we can consolidate it in one area and put it on a truck in one place. Yes, ma'am?
This is along that line. They are also needing hay and feed for horses and cattle, because I've been following the Orr Family Farm and the Celestial Farm, which is right next door, and it is devastating.
Right. Okay.
Anything along that line.
And
I'm seeing several vet clinics will be taking donations.
And we do sometimes forget about those things. Of course, here in Oklahoma, we have a lot of large animals, that being horses, cows, things like that. We do have a tendency to forget about those animals that have went through the storm, maybe have gotten separated from their owners for one reason or another, may be hurt or something like that. So if you want to put some things like that, if you want to bring some of those things by here, we will take those things also, and we will try to get them to the right place, okay? And you help me with that, okay? Things like Vetericin, all kinds of things that you would be able to think of that could help in that area right there. Okay, so that is called Together We Can Do More, and I think it's a great opportunity for us to be able to work as a community together to help that community, okay? Just a quick reminder there. The sirens went off here, remember? I mean, we all probably do go, yeah. I talked to some of the first responders that were out watching this storm that went over the top of us. They said there was rotation in the clouds. So the ability to have formed a tornado was there, but it didn't, okay? And we can be very, very thankful for that. But I think we need to remember how blessed we are as a result of that, and do all that we can to help those down there at Moore, okay? So I just wanted to pass that on to you right there. If you have your Bibles with you this morning, I would like for you to turn to the book of Isaiah. Go to chapter 40 in the book of Isaiah. Isaiah should be just about middle of the Bible right there. If you hit Psalms, go right. Isaiah is a prophet. He's talking to Israel. And he's trying his best to share a message with Israel to get them to change their ways, to come back to God. Matter of fact, he's going around pleading with them, crying out to them to return to God, to come back to who God is and what they believe. And so when Isaiah comes here to Isaiah chapter 40, he is really and truly beginning to express and show Israel again and bring them back to who God is. The magnitude of God, the creation of God. And he goes through a series of questions, and he'll ask the question, and through that he'll ask the question, and then he answers the question as to who God is. He comes to a place that is very well known to each one of us. I think most of us have heard this at some point or time in our life. Starting at verse 27, Isaiah writes these words. He says, "Why do you say, O Jacob," which Jacob is another word for Israel, okay? That's why he asks, that's why he puts it that way. "And speak, O Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord, and my just claim is passed over by my God. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, neither faints nor is weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the weak, and to those who have no might, he increases their strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." Now here's the question for us this morning. You ever been weary? How many of you this morning could honestly look up here and say, "I'm tired. It's been a long week." Right? I am. My strength is gone. Maybe I've had a lot of mental stress this week. How many of us remember, know, understand, maybe going through right now? There's some mental stress, and that makes you as tired as if you've worked, hard, a hard day's labor. So we need to, when we see this, I think all of us know and understand what it means to be tired. Let me ask this question. What about spiritually? Have you ever been spiritually tired? Have you ever come to the place in your spiritual walk and you ask the question, "God, I just don't know why. I don't understand." Have you ever asked the question that Rick Warren asked in his book, "What on earth am I here for? What's my reason? What's my purpose? What is the whole reason and the whole purpose to this life?" Have we ever gotten to a place and point in our life when we look around and things just don't seem to be going our way? And we don't understand. Maybe something has hit us financially, and we weren't as prepared for it as maybe we had hoped we were. Maybe something has hit us unexpectedly, like having to go to the hospital and have a big doctor's bill put up on us without even realizing. and then wondering how in the world are we going to pay this bill. You know, brothers and sisters, I think all of us can look and we see times in our life, and we come to places in our life and we go, I just don't know why. I just don't understand. You know, I wished as a pastor I had all the answers, because it sure would make being a pastor a whole lot easier. But I've got to be real honest with you and tell you, I don't have all the answers. I don't have the reasons to why. Wished I did. I really do. But I can tell you, and I will stand here and tell you, that what I know is that God is God. And that God is still in control. And that God is still on His throne. That God knows what's happening. He knows the situation. And I can tell you that I honestly and firmly believe that God knows those that belong to Him, and He will work all things together for the good of those who belong to Him. Amen. I believe that with all of my heart. That doesn't mean that I'm going to always understand why certain things happened. But it does mean that I can rely upon God, I can continue to trust in God, and sometimes if I have to, what I'm going to do. You remember the story I told you here a while back about me helping my grandpa catch a cow? And how I wrapped the rope around my hand, and when Grandpa went to slip the little nose loop over the cow decided to take off, and I went with the cow. And all the time, Grandpa was yelling, let go of that cow, let go of that cow. And I'm saying, I'm trying. That's because it had half-hitched around my hand, and I couldn't let go. Well, brothers and sisters, this morning, my encouragement to you is put a half-hitch around your hand, tie it to the robe of God, and hang on. You won't be sad that you did. I can't promise you're going to get all the answers to all your questions. But I can promise you'll be glad that you did. You'll be glad that you're hanging on. One of the things when I look around and I see how church family works, I see how that sometimes when certain things happen, people come together. You know, sometimes it takes a crisis for us to know and to understand how important we are to people. Sometimes when something happens, we see people come around that we never ever expected or thought or even knew who I was. One of the testimonies that I heard yesterday, we had the opportunity to go up and be with Kathy and Ken, and they had a memorial service for Kathy's brother yesterday. And Ken sat with us, and he shared the story of his brother-in-law, who said, before passing away, he said, I have gotten cards and letters from people that I don't even know exist. I've gotten cards and letters from people all around the country. And his testimony was, I didn't know people would care that much. You see, brothers and sisters, sometimes what happens is when things happen, there are certain things that because of those things that happen, it begins to show us how valuable we really are, that we do have reason, that we do have purpose, that people do know you. And people do really and truly love and care for you. In a group this size, how many of you could ever sit here? I guarantee you, in a group this size, not everybody here has had lunch with everybody in this church right now. Have you? But is it fully possible that in a group this size, that when there is a crisis that happens, that somebody would do something for somebody else? even though you don't know that person that well. It's a coming together. It is a part of being God's family. It is a part of being a church family. It is a part of being who Christ set us up to be the church. It's a part of Him setting us up to be there for people when things happen. People ask me all the time, well, Brother Wendell, what do you say at a time like this? I don't know. But I can be there. And I can listen. And I can support. And I can pray. You see, sometimes that means a whole lot more than any words that could ever be said. When Isaiah is sitting here and he's trying his best to encourage Israel, to call them back, to say, remember who God is. And he looks at them and he tells us, he says, have you not known, have you not heard, the everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, neither faints nor is weary. God doesn't get tired. God doesn't need rest like we do. God is everlasting. He's infinite. He is what was, He is what is, and He is what will be. God is the same to yesterday, today, and tomorrow. He never changes. He's the same God. He's the same God that created us. He's the same God that sent Jesus Christ to die on a cross for us. He's the same God that will hear us today when we're tired and when we're weary. His understanding is unsearchable. In other words, we can't understand His understanding. He gives power to the weak. Have you ever been weak? We've asked that question. Have you ever just been to the place where you just think, I can't go on. I'm done. And to those who have no might, He increases their strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. How many of you, I remember when I was 18 years old. How many of you remember when you was 18? Some of you hadn't got there yet. Some of you are there, and a whole lot of the rest of us wish we were, right? You remember what you could do when you were 18 years old? Man, nothing. There was nothing past your capability. I went in the United States Marine Corps at 18 years of age. I went on runs that I never thought I could ever make it on. When the Marine Corps says we're going on a little run, that means at least 5 miles. If you're going on a long run, it may be 15. We're going on a little hump. One of the most famous sayings of the Marine Corps was, we're going by diesel today. And we think 6-bys are picking us up today. We don't have to march. We called them humps when we went out on that. That's what we called them, humps. And the old sergeant would come out and he'd say, going by diesel today. We'd all give a cheer and everything and give a big, and he'd look at us and say, these will get you here and these will get you there. And then you hear us all go, We all remember when things were easier. When a little run was just that, a little run. When we could lift things and move things without any problem. And the older we get, the less we're able to do. We're not able to run like we used to. We're not able to lift the things that we used to could lift. We're not able to do the things that we could do. But he says, even the young men, the youth, shall faint and be weary. In other words, there is a point and a place where you can get tired. and be out of it. And the young men shall utterly fall. But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength, and they shall mount up with wings like eagles. How many of you ever seen a show about eagles? You ever seen, like on the Discovery Channel, any of the little Animal Planet shows or anything like that that's done documentaries on eagles? Have you noticed how majestic and how keen eagles are? Eagles have eyesight, and I can't remember what it is, but I mean, they can be, hundreds of feet in the air and fly over a river or a lake, and they can see a fish. And they can dive so precisely that as when they swoop down at just the right time, they pull their wings up, their claws come out, or talons come out, they reach down and they grab that fish and then swoop back up. Eagles can soar above the storm. Now, how high is that? When you talk about thunderheads who reach 33,000 feet up in the air, eagles have been that high before. Eagles can catch the wind, and they can glide across the wind with their wings. And Isaiah is sitting here and he's looking at each one of us and he's telling each one of us, if we get to the place to where we are weary, if we get to the place to where we grow faint, and brothers and sisters, we're not talking about here in the physical sense, although it can happen in the physical sense. We're talking in the spiritual sense. We're talking about when I get to the place to where is God? You ever asked yourself the question? You ever asked God, where you at? How come I can't hear from you? My prayers aren't going any further than the ceiling. Lord, what's going on? I don't understand. How come? I think if we're all honest, we can all sit here and say, I've asked that question before. I don't know why. I don't understand. Isaiah is sitting here and he's telling Israel, he's saying, listen, Israel as a country has gotten to a place to where what they have done is they have left God out. They have turned away from God. They have turned to idols. They have gone a different direction. And now all of a sudden things are not going well. They can't understand what's happening here, and they're asking, well, God, where you at? How come you're not blessing us? And we're looking at, we're not understanding how come things are working the way that they are. I mean, why are they working the way that they are? And Isaiah looks and he says, listen, don't you know? Don't you remember? Don't you understand who the creator of this world is? The creator of this world cares about you. Do we really and fully understand and grasp that? How many of you remember the little movie that we showed here not very long ago of that said, remember it says, if the earth were the size of a golf ball. Remember that? And then it started comparing the earth to the size of the sun, then the size to the next biggest star, and to the next biggest star. And it really and truly kind of puts in perspective of just how big man is in comparison to the universe. Isaiah is sitting here and he's telling Israel, he's saying, listen to me, the creator of the universe loves you, created you, cares about you. He knows what's going on. He knows what's happening. And yet, as big as He is, as big as the universe is, each and every one of us matter to Him. Each and every single one of us He cares about and He knows about. He encourages those of Israel that if what you will do is if you will wait upon the Lord, that waiting upon the Lord is to wait upon the Lord expectantly. The NIV puts it this way, those who have hope in the Lord. I looked the word up. The meaning is the same. It really and truly is to say that those who wait and have hope upon the Lord shall renew their strength. And brothers and sisters, this morning, the encouragement that I want to give each and every one of us is that we are to wait and have hope upon the Lord this morning. We are to look at the Lord. We are to look at God in such a way that we are expectant that He is going to be there for us. He's going to see us through no matter what the circumstance is. Sometimes things in life are not easy. We know that. But how many times have we gone through something and we've come out on the other side and we've seen God at work all along the way? We've seen where certain people have been there at certain times for a certain reason. We've seen where things show up that we never even dreamed of that would show up. How many stories have we heard about people who were just about out of groceries and a sack of groceries shows up? How many times have we heard stories about how a bill is due and we don't know how in the world we're going to pay this bill, and all of a sudden there's some money that shows up out of nowhere and you ain't got a clue in the world where it come from? How many times have we seen different things happen in people's lives that we don't understand, but yet it happened? How many of us remember the story of the footprint in the sand? A person falls asleep and has a dream. And in this dream, they see that they are walking along with the Lord, and they look back and they see two sets of footprints in the sand. They walk a little further along and they stop, and it seems as if the Lord is no longer there. And they look back and they see a single set of footprints. And the first thing that comes to mind is, well, God's left. Jesus left me here. And the question is asked, why did you leave me alone? And the answer comes back, dear child, I didn't leave you alone. The footprints that you see behind you are of me because I'm carrying you. Brothers and sisters, this morning, my encouragement and my message to us is that yes, life will not always be easy. Yes, there's going to be tough and sometimes extremely tough times in life. But God doesn't leave you. God doesn't forsake you. Let me go back to another story quickly. You'll find this story in the book of John. Jesus is kind of hanging around, and all of a sudden somebody comes running up to Jesus and says, Jesus, your brother Lazarus is sick. And we need you. And Jesus looks and acknowledges and says, okay. But Jesus doesn't leave right away. Matter of fact, He waits a period of days before He goes. In the meantime, Lazarus dies. Now, Jesus then decides that it's time to go to Bethany then, where Lazarus lived. And He's coming down the road, and Lazarus' sisters, who, all three of these, Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, all knew Jesus because Jesus had been there before, had stayed with them, had taught at their home and things before. So they knew Jesus well. Jesus comes down the road, and one of the sisters comes running up and says, "Why didn't you come sooner? If you would have been here sooner, Lazarus wouldn't have died." And Jesus looks at her and gives her an assurance and says, "Don't worry. I'm here." She leaves and she goes to the home. The other sister comes, and because Jesus asked for her, she comes and she asked him the same question. "Why didn't you come sooner? Because Lazarus wouldn't have died if you'd have come sooner." Jesus looked at her and said, "Don't worry. I'm here." If you read further into the story, Lazarus has been dead for 4 days. Jesus looks at them and says, "Do you believe I am who I say I am?" They look at him and say, "Yes, we believe you to be the Christ, the Son of God." And Jesus says, "It is for this reason why I'm here." He walks boldly up, stands outside the tomb, and cries out, "Lazarus, come forth." And Lazarus walks out of that grave. You see, brothers and sisters, God doesn't leave us. God doesn't leave us. He knows what we're going through. He knows what is happening to us. And what He does is He stays with us. He is there for us. And when we grow weary, when we grow tired, when we get spiritually to the place and to the point to where we look at it and we say, "I don't know, I can't understand, I'm done," He picks us up and He starts carrying us along. So, brothers and sisters, this morning, although we may be tired, some of us may be weary, some of us may be to the place to where we're looking at it and going, "I'm doing all I know to do." Tie a knot and hang on. Tie a knot and hang on, because I guarantee you'll be glad that you did. Because I have heard testimony after testimony after testimony of people who have said, "At the time I thought I was about to give up is when God showed up. At the time that I thought I couldn't go any further, I was able to make it." Have I shared the story with you about the little Filipino boy who helped me in a march one time? Some of you may have heard that story. Can I share it with you one more time? We're in the Philippines. Hot, humid. Not only do I have my pack and my rifle, which everybody had to carry, I also was a radio man, which they were called a PRC 77 radio, and it was a long-range radio. and I would have to put that radio, the best way to carry it would be right on top of my pack, which added about another 7 pounds on top. You know what I'm talking about, don't you, Don? Ken, you know what I'm talking about. Heavy, aren't they? Especially when your pack's full. We're walking along out there, and I always prided myself that I had never, ever fallen out of a hump or a run. In other words, I never fell back. I never had to be picked up by the vehicle that followed along behind us. Because it was my goal that they would never, ever have to do that to me. Either that or they were going to pick me up off the ground after I'd just completely gone as far as I could go. On this particular day, I'd gotten to the place to where I think I was just about as far as I could go. I was beginning to sweat, and then I got where I couldn't sweat any longer. That tells you that you're about to enter into heat exhaustion, maybe even heat stroke. And I'm walking along, and I'm trudging along, and the harder I try to keep up, the further back it seems that I'm getting away from my platoon. I hear the rumble of the Jeep or the truck behind me back here, and I'm sitting there telling myself, I am not falling out. I am not falling out. I'm not going to do it. And I'm trudging along, and I'm trudging along, and I mean literally I'm just walking like this. And out of nowhere comes this little Filipino boy. Couldn't have been past 4 years old. He was wearing an LA Dodgers baseball cap. And this little boy looks up at me and he smiles, a great big old smile, pretty white teeth, dark complected. He says, "Come on, G.I., you make it." And he reaches up, and his little old hand is just big enough to grab my pinky. And he wraps his hand around my pinky, and he begins to walk like this, pulling me. And all the time he's pulling along, he's like, "Come on, G.I., you make it, G.I. You make it." The truck didn't pick me up. I didn't fall out. Now, whether that little Filipino boy was an angel, I don't know. I tried to find him later because I wanted to give him some. In our C rations, we get chocolates and things like that, and those folks will trade you for that stuff, and they really like it. And I was going to give him all the chocolate I could possibly get together. When I asked the people about this little boy, nobody knew him. I said, "Yeah, you got to know him." I said, "He's a little guy. He couldn't be 4 years old. He's wearing an LA Dodgers baseball cap." We don't know him. We don't know who you're talking about. Brothers and sisters, when you get to the place and to the point to where you think you can't go on, God is still God. He is still in control. He still loves you. So hang on. Hang on. Because He loves you, all things will work together for the good of those who know Him and believe in Him and who trust in Him. Stand with me if you would, please.
The splendor majesty. Let all the earth rejoice, all the earth rejoice. He wraps himself in light, and darkness tries to hide, and trembles at his voice, and trembles at his voice. How great is our God! Sing with me, how great is our God! And all will see how great is our God. Age to age he stands, and time is in his hands, beginning and the end, beginning and the end. The Godhead three in one, Father, Spirit, Son, the Lion and the Lamb, the Lion and the Lamb. How great